Mm-hmm.
You are now the third person in our friend group to become an uncle.
Yes.
Because Tommy was an uncle
Mm-hmm.
for he's been an uncle for a while, and then
Yes. You're also an uncle. Yes.
I've been an uncle for a couple of years now
Mm-hmm.
to two girls.
Yes.
So you will enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have Jeff hold the baby at some
Yes, I
point.
do. And then get the picture if it starts crying again.
Yeah, that was an
It's such a
iconic
great
photo.
picture. Yeah.
Iconic photo of him in
I know we got a
Harley.
YouTube
Just
video where we kind of discuss that picture a little more in detail of, that whole
yeah,
situation and the
great,
backstory there. If you
great
want to check that out,
situation.
that's on our Underachievers podcast YouTube page. It's a couple of months back, but it's still good to listen to.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. I love
It
it.
is. It's a great
Um,
story. I mean, it really is.
oh for sure, yeah. So like Jeff and babies of I guess the nieces, at least the niece of his friends, does
Yes.
not go well. Was now is a boy or
Mm.
girl?
It's a girl.
It's a girl. So
Hmm.
you know he did well with Liam,
Yes.
but he has not done well with any female nieces yet of
Not yet. Not in
us.
the fan group. No.
So on the friend group. So hopefully this
We'll
will
see.
make it even,
We'll
or
see.
it puts him down -2.
Hmm. The thing that was easy for me is that even though I did have like a slight thought of that, it's like, what if it just happens where it's just like a Jeff situation where it's just crying in my hands all the time? But it wasn't even that. It was because we left Sunday morning, and we were really only there for not even a day. We left Sunday. We came back Monday night.
Not so far drive.
Yeah,
It's like a 4.5 hour drive out there.
yeah, it is
Almost 5 depending on traffic.
depending on traffic, but we were mainly on the turnpike, so wasn't too bad for the drive. Just put on a good playlist. I will say this: I listened to two AJR albums on my way down there. Obviously, Neo Theater,
Okay. Of
which
course.
I think we all have that same thought of when we're still waiting for anyone's response to any other great albums of being the best album in the last 20 years. But even their most recent one, I actually kind of like too. That's not nearly as good as Neo Theater, but I think
Yeah.
it's still got some good songs on there.
Oh yeah. Okay. Orchestra has a
Yeah,
lot of great songs. It has 3 o'clock. It has Bummerland, of course. It has um,
mm-hmm.
it just has a great song. It just
It
has a
does.
couple more of the great songs on it. Um,
But yeah,
it's
but
kind of it's kind of like the Click. So, but anyway, to get off, we've already
anyways,
went through that.
back to that. But that ride down wasn't any problem. She pretty much while we were with her, she was just sleeping essentially the whole time. Like
Okay. I mean,
we maybe
yeah.
saw her eyes open like for like 5 minutes the whole time we were there, because every other time she was sleeping or doing something like that, or my sister was feeding her, so we didn't really see her that often. We did obviously see her, but we didn't really see her, awake or observing anything that often.
No, yeah, that's how I was too when I met my niece.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I got out of class, and like my sister had already been in the hospital for a couple of hours, and everyone went, and I'm like, they're like, you can come and sit around. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
just call me whenever she's born. I'll make
Mm-hmm.
my way over.
Yes.
And I
Yep.
won't be able to see her anyway before
Mm-mm.
like after, even an hour or two after she's born. So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna sit around and do nothing. So they called me, and I drove down, and I got there like kind of in the area of the time period of where they're letting people in the room.
Yeah.
This is also back in like 2015.
It was. So 6 years now.
There's no way she's 6. Actually, I lied. There's no way she's 6. She's she's like 4 or 5 actually now.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Oh shit, she is 4 or 5 now. Wow. Time's flying.
Yeah, it is.
Um, but yeah, so it's great having like I
Yeah, it
like
is.
babies are cute. They're all fun.
They are. Yeah.
But I like the ages when they're like, especially as I used to be a camp counselor. That
When
I
they're
like the ages of like
discovering things, when they're first kind of discovering life and all that
yeah, it's
kind
like
of thing.
5 when
Yeah.
they turn like 5 and 6. They're a little bit more fun because they like to do things.
Yeah.
And there's like when they're a baby, you kind of just gotta follow them around.
Mm-hmm.
And when they're babies, they're just kind of like drunk adults.
Yes, they are.
That's all they are. So like now it's more fun. I haven't seen her in a couple of years though because they live in
They
Texas.
live in
But
Texas. Yeah.
even when we get to see them, it's fun because it's like you can actually have kind of conversation with them now.
Mm-hmm.
With her, the other ones too. So not too much, but
Yeah.
It's still fun. You'll enjoy being an uncle.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's
It's
enjoyable.
definitely a different experience because obviously this is the first of anyone in my family obviously to have a kid, and it's one of those things like when you really think back to it because it makes you kind of think of life a little bit. It's like I'm 25. I feel old now. I know realistically in span of life that's not that old in terms of depending on how old you live or whatever. But like I feel old now because now my sister now has her own kid. Like it's a weird thing to think about, but like that's just how life is. It's just one of those things. It's like one
really
thing. This one moment you're like, okay, I'm still good, bro. I'm still good. The one thing hits you, it's like, shit, I'm old. My friends are getting married or about to be married. In terms of Jeff and this podcast, my sister has a kid now. I was like, wow, it's about that time. It's about adulthood. It's the adulthood everyone talks about. So
I don't think when my nieces were born, it made me feel old.
No, it doesn't really.
It's like it's like more like you get to when they get older. You get to be the fun. You're you get to be a fun uncle.
Oh yeah.
You don't gotta be like
no.
So like reprimand. You still gotta like make sure they follow. But you're more the fun. You're like, oh, let's go do this. Let's go do that. Like just kind of screw around. I don't think what made me feel. I think what made me feel old was when my first friends from college got married. And they got married a couple years ago. They got married about 2 years ago. That's what kind of set it off in my head. I'm like, I had been to other people's weddings. Like I went to my sister's wedding, but I didn't feel that old because like she's not much older than me.
Right.
So I was like, okay, but she was also she already had been gone through college. She already had a job and all that kind of stuff. She already had a kid. So at that point, it really didn't bother me. I was like, all right, it is what it is. When it's family, it doesn't really feel like it. But when my direct correlated friends started getting engaged and married, I'm like, oh shit. Like, I remember him when I met him in college at freshman year 6 years ago. And all of a sudden, like, oh my God, you're getting married. But it was him. And then I just recently went to a wedding on this past weekend. Well, not this past weekend. 2 weeks ago, I went to a wedding. Weekend before I went to a wedding. My other friends I met from college, a freshman year, and there's 2 people tied the knot. I'm like, now I'm like there. I'm like, whew.
Yeah.
I'm old.
And then very soon you got 2 more friends that you grew up with soon getting married.
Next year I'll have I should say the fall of 21 or the ending of 21. The ending of 21, I'll have 3 weddings of my friends.
Yeah.
And then in 22, I'll have 2 more. So I got 5 weddings in the next 2 years.
Yeah.
Of friends, of my friends. So I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need to find dates for these weddings. I need to find a +1 for these weddings.
Right.
But it's fun going to this bachelor, don't get me wrong, but maybe I should. But it doesn't being an uncle doesn't make me feel old.
No. It's not necessarily that, just a weird thing now seeing just your sisters now become a parent.
In charge of a little baby now. You're like, oh, dang.
Yeah.
They gotta be an adult, they gotta be responsible of 2 little humans. I'm like, yeah.
I mean, granted, it's not as far as I know your sister down in Texas, but it's still 4 hours from us. So it's still it's still going to be varies here and there, but it's going to be a little different now every time. She's going to have the kid with her, so it's going to be fun. It's
definitely different nowadays. But then
and that was the other thing too, was that if it wasn't for COVID, we definitely would have been there at least by last Thursday, because she checked into the hospital that Wednesday night at like 11:30.
Okay.
And then early Friday morning at like 2:33ish, that's when she had the kid.
Okay, that's pretty. It's pretty long.
Yeah.
Hey,
well, they didn't start. They didn't start like delivering or really that sort of thing till like the next day. So that morning after they came in, so it wasn't really that terribly long, but.
Okay. My sister didn't go until like the day of.
Right.
I mean, it was like still like a 12-hour, 13-hour, whatever it was, delivery thing, but she didn't go until the day.
Yeah.
Like the morning, I was getting ready to get shower for class, and I hear her like, she's going in. I'm like, okay. Have fun.
Yep. Let me know. Let me know everything's good. The
and then
baby's
I'll make my
healthy.
way
She's
down.
healthy. Everyone's good.
Yeah, that's all that mattered. I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
I'll be there. I'll be there when I be there.
Yep. Yep.
But it is a lot of fun just to have all that stuff. And, everyone asks, like, like, is it fun? I was like, well, again, for you, it's a little bit further. For me, I'm like, I haven't seen them in person probably for 2 years.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen my oldest niece since she's been 3.
Right.
I've like FaceTimed with them. Of course, I've gone on the phone, but I haven't seen them in person.
Yeah.
And I haven't even met my youngest niece yet either.
Mm-hmm.
She's 2. I haven't met her yet.
Right.
So I was like, that's like the weirdest part. Like everyone's like, have you met her? I'm like, no, she's big 2. I'm like, yeah, I know I haven't met her yet. Mm-hmm. She's 2, but I haven't seen her.
Yeah, she's in Texas.
She's kind of a situation where if I want to see her, I gotta go. Yeah. I gotta take some days off to go do that. I can't just
also
drive down.
And the last year there's been, a pandemic and everything, so that's kind of shut things down.
That too.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. So but you'll enjoy it. It's fun.
I'm sure I will. It's one of those things. It's just kind of, everyone kind of says that thing. It's like, oh, you just can't wait. But it's gonna be fun. Try to be the fun uncle.